and welcome. This presentation is aiming to broaden our understanding as providers of intensive family preservation services and how our work as in-home visitors is connected to a very big picture and debate. I will be explaining the historical and conceptual roots of family preservation, current family preservation goals and obligations, and what the research says. This is a brief overview of many resources combined to filter a whole lot of information into a quick and easy tutorial. Hopefully this adds to our home visiting toolkit of truly understanding the underpinnings of what we do. As I began this project, I found myself digging deeper and deeper as I tried to truly understand the evolution of child protection and family preservation as we know it today. It's complicated because there's this very basic debate at the heart of all this. Is this the family's problem for failing to protect the child, or is this society's problem for failing to protect the family? Individual or community? Bad choices or circumstances? These are two pretty different perspectives on the same problem. So let's put the political cards on the table. For about 150 years or so, lots of social workers and policymakers in this country have been screaming that many situations where children are removed from their families are actually rooted in poverty. The cycle of poverty, lack of resources like housing, food, clothing, financial dependence, we know the drill. They've been saying many families involved in the system are there because of circumstance. Systemic social injustices which have grown out of the values of dominant white culture. For those same 150 years and more, police officers, court systems, medical providers, state-run institutions, and policymakers have been screaming that individuals need to be responsible for their actions. They've been reacting to people's actions or inactions, failure to protect. It's essential to understand there are politics at the heart of this issue, with philosophical disagreements embedded within policies and agencies. So let's talk about family preservation by asking the experts. The Department of Health and Human Services, Administration for Children and Families, and the Children's Bureau say, family preservation services are short-term, family-focused services designed to assist families in crisis by improving parenting and family functioning while keeping children safe. Family preservation services grew out of the recognition that children need a safe and stable home and that separating children from their families is traumatic for them, often leaving lasting negative effects. These services build upon the conviction that many children can be safely protected and treated within their own homes when parents are provided with services and support that empower them to change their lives. Very cool. Through all the muddy waters of child protection versus family preservation, our government recognizes the value of keeping kids with their families. They even mentioned the word trauma. Let's dig deeper. Child protection and family preservation is tricky business. It's risky. Children are at risk. Family units are at risk. Some think it's safer for kids to be removed. Some think it's safer to keep kids in their homes while treating and supporting the family system. Some think it's government's place to intervene. Some think government should stay out of our homes. The truth is, there's no right answer. Who can tell which families will respond to in-home services? Who can tell if a child will be more traumatized by removal than staying? Who can tell if foster placements are really safe, or if a new kind of abuse will occur? Again, no right answers. Even the data is hard to flesh out. But this is where we rely on overarching philosophical beliefs, policies, and programs like ours to believe this work makes a difference. The U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Administration of Children and Family Services, and the Children's Bureau, again, now weave family preservation services into its list of programmatic approaches and their library with evidence-based research. They also place reunification as the #1 goal for families experiencing removal. Family preservation is a paradigm shift in focus within the child welfare experience in our country. As with any change, expect turbulence. Working within the systems and ideology that have been in place for hundreds of years is a difficult place to be the new kid on the block. In 1993, Congress established the Family Preservation and Family Support Services Program in an effort to allow flexible, community-based funding aimed at child abuse prevention. Sounds great. Well, it's been thrown around, renamed, given time limits, and changed some more. Now you might hear it referred to as promoting safe and stable families. In Alaska, only the past 15 years has family preservation language been included in the Office of Children's Services. Specifically, Family Preservation Services are listed as one of 3 programs OCS funds to provide family support to families at risk or in crisis. There's a list of 18 examples of services, including in-home visits, parent support groups, early developmental screening, and case conferencing or case review meetings with OCS. Diving into the Child Protective Manual and the latest research from the Children's Bureau, it is clear there's a shift in expectations toward a strength-based perspective and interagency collaboration. This is brand new stuff. The Children's Bureau outlines 6 guiding principles: interagency collaboration, individualized strength-based care, cultural and linguistic competence, child, youth, and family involvement, community-based services, and accountability. These are designed, and I quote, to promote infrastructure change and strengthen the capacity of human service agencies to support families involved in public child welfare. There are 9 grantees out there talking about agency challenges to strength-based perceptions, like assessment tools, time constraints, and collaboration with other agencies. The point is, this is cutting-edge discussion and on-the-ground work being done. No one has it right. Oftentimes in child protection, there is no right. An outsider might say, this seems clunky. An insider might say, this seems impossible. Systems change is huge, in concept and practice. Let's look to the research. As I said earlier, it's tricky to flesh out. Family preservation programs have a variety of theoretical frameworks, funding sources, some are private, some are public, and a variety of families they serve. Families struggling with substance abuse, sexual abuse, domestic abuse, you get the picture. It's difficult to assess change within imposed time constraints on services, when in reality, individualization of care is paramount for preservation. It's also difficult to assess or quantify change when, potentially, true change is intergenerational, not just decreasing domestic violence, but increasing community connectivity, increasing sustainable supports, accessing concrete resources, accessing education. Okay, so when I say it's difficult to quantify, that's sort of code for there's criticism. There's criticism because the quantifiable preservation data, which is pretty new, sometimes doesn't stack up against the removal data, which is pretty old. Like, sometimes abuse actually continues despite in-home interventions, and despite positive results within programs. Some programs lose funding, so services are no longer available, and families and data sort of fall off a cliff. Some of the research relies on qualitative means or client perceptions because this work is internal. On one hand, victims of family sexual assault might have indicators of positive family preservation progress in terms of increased self-confidence and decreased self-harm, yet experience absolute devastation if abuse reoccurs. And is that because of a court system failure or a programmatic failure? Is it because there are different types of sexual offenders, some with higher projected abilities to reform and some with very low projected abilities to reform? Some of the research defines recovery for families struggling with substance abuse issues as recovering their roles within the family system. Pretty broad and pretty long term. Individual recovery and recovery of the family system doesn't always happen within a 15-month time frame. Some of the research profiles the ingredients statistically. Who has higher rates of reunification? For example, 2-parent homes, families not living in poverty, families not struggling with substance abuse, and older maternal age are correlated with reunification. So this research is really about how to prevent or provide services that mimic positive, strong family structures. The research is difficult. Small numbers, very specific populations experiencing different programs. It's difficult to say if family preservation works at this point. It's really more of a belief system based in strength-based perceptions. No one is pretending that family preservation services will eradicate poverty and pull the rug out from all social injustices. What people, social workers like us, are believing is that linking families to concrete resources like parenting classes and mental health services, providing in-home visits, diapers, transportation, and collaborating with all the agencies involved in families' lives, we will break down barriers, create support, focus on strengths, teach skills, and ultimately keep kids safe in their homes. Thank you.